Hey everyone, so I'm going to do something a little bit different today, and we're going to be talking about impulse responses or IRs. And this is kind of a new thing that I was aware of a few years ago, and the concept was really cool, but I've just now finally gotten around to starting to mess around with it and starting to dip my toes in. And I really like the way that I'm finding things. There is some things I'm still confused about, so I'm kind of learning as we're going with this. But I wanted to kind of share as we go with it. I'm using the Line 6 HX Stomp as my IR loader, and then also kind of as comparison between, say, like stock digital amp sims, and then what you can do with the impulse responses. So I hadn't really loaded any impulse responses into the HX Stomp or like gotten into that. When I got my Tone X1 late last year, I got it through Sweetwater, which had I've got it here, Eminence Impulse Response Sampler Pack is what one of the included things that it came with. So it came with samples of 5 different IRs: the Legend EM112, Legend GB128, the Governor, and Cannabis Rex, and Swamp Thing. So I'll probably do a deeper dive into those, but I think the one that I'm using right now is the Swamp Thing to kind of compare with. And I'll do a deeper dive on those exact impulse responses, but they're really interesting. You don't have as much control over an impulse response as you do over, say, like cab sims or something. Like if I'm looking at the cab sim, you see that I have choices of microphones right on this, position and distance, angle, low and high cut, and then of course level. Whereas on an impulse response, you just have like the impulse response that's in that particular spot, and then a low cut and a high cut mix, and then they're all kind of loaded in at negative 18 decibels, which I'm not quite sure what the deal is with that, but I'm just going to leave it alone, assume that it's that way for a reason. But yeah, they're really cool, and so you have less control over them as far as like the mic placement, but it seems like they're smaller files than what you would have for the cab sims there. So I think that what's going on is it's a wave file. Like when you load them into your computer and get them kind of set up there, it's a wave file that is running it through. So I don't know if it's just kind of filtering your signal through this impulse. And you know what an impulse response is too, is they're taking a specific cab or speaker or room, or any combination of those things, or microphone, really, because that's a whole nother thing too. And then they play a series of bleeps and bloops and scratching, all kinds of different sounds, and the microphone is listening to it coming off of the speaker and the way that it sounds in the room and the reflections of the reverb and things, and kind of creating a audio map of that you can then play your sound through, and it makes you sound pretty convincingly like you are in the same space as this is happening here. So the cab included stuff with the Line 6. It might not be like top of the line, but I think it's still pretty good. I'll go ahead and do some playing on it here. So I'm using my BC Rich Junior V, tuned to standard. I've been using this setup for a few of the other videos I've done. So for clean sound, I've got Jazz Rivette 120, which is like a jazz chorus, the Panama, which is like a 5150, send and return. Let's see. Yeah, which I'm not using that right now. I might as well just clear that out. Clear block. There we go. Delay I might use if I feel like it. Then I've got this 412 greenback. We'll be using one of the Swamp Thing IRs. Maybe mess around with a few others. And then I've got reverb that I might turn on at the very end. So with the Panama and the greenback, let's maybe throw the reverb on there too. again, not top of the line, but it's pretty decent sound in there. So let's do this. Let's turn the reverb off. Let's go to the IR. So I have them both assigned to this same switch right there. So now. Okay, and I noticed as I was reading the description on these that they're all recorded, all these samples anyway, are recorded with an SM57. And yeah. So that's one option for the Swamp Thing. That's the next option over. Obviously, they're still the same microphone, but I don't know if it's like the distance or the sample quality that is making the difference there. But, since they're such small files, you can stack them. You can run. I don't know that I would run one into the next one, but you could run like an A-B path. So maybe I'll do that here in a bit. Definitely a sound difference. But, even though this one, I don't know, at first it sounds kind of like, I don't know, about it. The cab cymbal sounds fuller, but the way that it's, the word response, but the way that it's responding does feel more natural than the amp sim does to me anyway. So that's a really cool thing. Let's try this. Oh, well, for one, before I get into all this, let's throw some reverb on it. Let's throw the delay on. I just really like the way that it responds, and I guess like in a full band mix with bass, and if you have keyboards or other instruments going on, it might sound kind of narrow right now, but we got to consider that this is probably going to fit very well into a mix without much EQing to it. You can roll off highs and lows, beyond what I have or what it's set at, but yeah, it's really cool. So let's do this now. Let's turn off the delay, turn off the reverb, and let's drop this down onto a B path. And I'm gonna put the split before, and then have it connect back right before the reverb, and then I'm gonna turn both of these on. So now. Cool. Cool. Let's switch amps. Buttons. Let's change the impulse response to the Rex ones were supposed to be kind of more of a clean channel option. Difference. Go Governor's kind of Marshall. I think these were the ones more based around clean. You can hear more of a difference on the distorted than I could on the clean anyway. Going to leave it on that for right now. So yeah, we can see that mixing an IR and a cab sim, if that's an option for you, can be pretty cool. Let's do this. So for the split right here, I could pan them left and right like this. So right now they're both at the center, so now you have A path on the left side, IR on the right side. If you're listening with headphones, probably make a little bit more difference. What would probably make more of a difference would be to change that split from an AB to from a Y to an AB, and now I can kind of do this. See, so that would be like all cab sim. That's all IR, and then you can kind of balance between those two. So it's still kind of going up the center, I believe anyway. Yeah, you can pan from here, which side it's going to. Like if you went... Like that was probably the way I should have done it before. Was on this side. Cool. And one last thing before we wrap up here. Let's do like I was talking about before and swap this cab sim out for a different IR. So right now I've got the Swamp Thing. Let's back up. IR, single. And let's see. So this one is number 13. Let's make this number 14. Sounds pretty big doing that. Of course, I've got reverb on too. What about a different IR? So that's the Swamp Thing. Let's try Governor. So, like I said, these sounds that we're getting here, they're not what I would consider to be like quote-unquote bedroom tones where it's just going to sound great with you playing by yourself in your bedroom. These are probably going to sound at their best in a mix, playing with other instruments, running to a PA, and then potentially running a sound without the IRs to your own on stage or at least in the room amp as well. There's really so many different options that you can do, and I'm really trying to limit myself to not go like off the rails with this video, and I got to keep an eye on the time here with it too. I definitely want to start covering specific IRs. Again, I've not really talked about the Sweetwater Pack as much as I probably will in detail in another video. I kind of just wanted to get into this, and I've had varying success with the IRs so far too. Like the Sweetwater pack opened, loaded, got on here and started working no problem. But I had also downloaded, I think they're called like Ergotone IRs at the end of the year last year. It looked like they were going to close down, and had a major sale going on. So I bought everything. I bought the IRs, I bought the drum samples, and speaker cabs and all that stuff. And the drum stuff has worked okay, but the IRs I've not been able to get to work on the HX Stomp specifically. My Tone X1 will play the IRs. So for right now, as far as covering those, I'm gonna have to kind of figure. But there's so many. They're like tons and tons of options. I really don't need to get more IRs than I think what I have. I just need to figure out how to get them to run on the HX Stomp. If anybody has advice on that, like if anyone has trouble getting an IR to load onto the HX Stomp but has figured out a way to get it onto there, I would love to know that. Please shoot me a message, leave me a comment about that, whatever we can do, but I'd love to hear that. Let's go ahead and wrap it up for today. Again, this is kind of just like opening a can of worms without dumping the whole contents out or anything. I will try to learn some more about this stuff and cover it more, but I hope that this helps to answer some questions for some people who maybe have not made the full jump over into IRs too. Again, there's been pros and cons to it, easy steps and steps I'm still trying to figure out, but I totally see the potential in it here. But again, thank you guys so much, and I will see you in another video soon.